And welcome back to the Stitch Sessions, and welcome to this sweet new tutorial we have for you today. And if you're new here, I'm Karen, and I love all things to do with crafting with crochet. So winter is upon us, and I thought it would be great fun to make some baby mittens. So I've got a new addition to the family. I know many of you might have as well. And what great add-on to any baby outfit than to have some proper mittens for the baby. Now, the beautiful thing about creating baby mittens is we don't have to worry about the thumbs because they're not really going to use them for anything in particular right now. So we want their whole hand to just nestle nice and cozy inside there, and you're good to go. So I made this set of baby mittens, and I made them with the string. Do you guys remember this from when you guys were kids? So this is going to feed through their jacket, because of course babies want to chew on things or pull things off, and every parent has been there when they're trying to find that darn missing mitt. And so this is a great solution. If they pull it off, that it'll still be hanging on there for them. Now I made mine, the sizing is 0 to 6 months, technically 3 to 6 months. So this is perfect for my niece. And so she will grow into this throughout the whole winter. So these are things to keep in mind when you're making baby items. They do grow very quickly in those first few months of life. So if you're making mittens and it happens to be July, then think about when the child is actually going to use the mittens and make it for that size. Because if you make it for their current size, by the time they grow into the season, they may not fit anymore. So anyway, these are super quick to make and very cute, if I may say so myself. So all we are using is the half double crochet stitch. So we start at the top here, we work in the round, we create a circle, and we are working into the back loops only. So that's what creates this pretty little ridge here. And then we go down a hook size and just go down to single crochet stitches. And that's what gives you that cute little tapered look for the cuff of the mitten. And then we simply chain up a long chain to act as our tie around. So once you make one, you will replicate it and make the second one. And then you'll tie it together at the top and you are good to go. So if you've got a few little ones in your life, you can whip up a bunch of these in an afternoon, easy peasy. Like these two together probably took me definitely under an hour to make. So there you have it. Now, let's get talking about the materials we're going to need to create our little baby mitts. Okay, so for our little mitten project, I am using a Bernat Premium yarn. I actually love their premium. It just is so soft and lovely to work with, and it always creates this really beautiful drape if you're creating larger projects. But for these little mittens, you're not going to need much at all. These come in 198 gram skeins, which contain 329 meters or 360 yards, which is way, 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 way more than we need. You could probably do a hat, scarf, 2 mittens. You might even be able to squeeze a cardigan for a baby out of this whole thing. So we won't need much for our mittens. And in case you're wondering about this color, it's just simply called Pink Rose, okay? It is 100% acrylic and it's a medium 4-weight yarn, which is what I would recommend. And the hook size I'm gonna be using is going to be a 5.5 millimeter hook, which is also known as an I or a size 9, okay? As always, make sure you have a pair of scissors and a yarn needle to sew in your ends at the end. So let's get started. I almost forgot to mention, you're going to need a second hook to crochet your cuff. And so I'm using a 4mm hook, which is also known as a G or a size 6, if those are the sizes you go by. So this will help kind of taper in your cuff a little bit without having to adjust what you're doing with your stitches. You can simply go down a hook size. Okay, so to begin, we're going to start off by creating a cinch circle. That is very similar to a slip knot, okay? But when we pull our yarn through, we're just not going to resolve it. So you see it's going to be a little wonky there. So I'm just going to take a hold of it, and then I'm going to chain 1. And that secures our circle. And I always like to put my tail up to the front. And so what we're going to do now is we are going to chain an additional chain. This won't really count as anything. It's just to help us have a little bit of height here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work a half double crochet into the center of the ring. So I've yarned over, I've inserted my hook, and I've pulled up a loop. So these first few stitches might be a little wonky because we don't really have any stitches we're working into. So just be a little patient. So there's 1 half double crochet. I'm going to yarn over and do that again. And so we've got another half double crochet. So the goal is to place a total of 8 half double crochets into the center of our ring. Okay, once I have my 8 half double crochets, I'm going to take that tail and I'm going to pull on it, and that's what cinches our circle shut. See that? So it comes together a lot more like a circle. And then what we want to do is we want to find the top of that first half double crochet, and we're just going to insert our hook and we're going to slip stitch to join our round. Just like that. So round 1 is complete, and we have 8 stitches all the way around. So now we're ready to go on to round number 2. So for round number 2, we're going to chain 1, and this chain 1 is not really going to count as anything. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back into the same stitch, and we're going to place 2 half double crochet stitches. The thing we're going to do though is we are going to work into the back loops only. So when I turn my stitches forward, see I've got a loop that's closest to me and I've got the loop that's furthest away. So I'm going to work into the back loop only. So I'm going to go into the very next stitch that I see here, and I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop, pull up a loop, and work my half double crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one back into that same spot. So we are expanding our circle a little bit. So now we've got 2 stitches there, and then we do the same thing into the next back loop. So you can see that right there. Insert through, 1 half double crochet, and then another half double crochet back into the same spot. And that is what I'm going to do all the way around until I finish my second round. So we had 8 stitches in round 1. At the end of round 2, you should have 16 stitches. Okay, so I have come up around here. I know I have 16 stitches. So you can see by working into the back loops, just creates a little bit of that ridge-like effect. And so a lot of times when you are joining your round, we will tell you, like I did in round 1, to just find the top of that very first stitch and then slip stitch to join. But because I want to make sure that we don't have a seam that's going to show, I'm going to get you to take your hook out of your loop, and here's a little trick on how to hide your seams. And you're going to insert your hook from the back to the front into that first stitch that we created, right like that, okay? Then I'm going to just take that loop and put it over the hook so that I can actually feed it back out of that stitch, just like that. And that actually creates a seamless join of your round, and you will not have any seams showing at the end. And you'll see as we move along how good this is going to look. So round number 2 is complete and we have 16 stitches. So let's begin round number 3. You will chain 1 as usual. You can keep it nice and relaxed because this chain 1 in this project does not count as anything. So we are going to yarn over and half double crochet right away into the very first stitch. So right where we kind of joined our round, we're going to insert. Remember, we're always working into the back loops only. So we're going to insert there and half double crochet. And for round number 3, we are not going to be doing any increases. So in round number 2, we place 2 stitches into each. Round number 3, we're just going to place 1 stitch into each stitch all the way around. 1 stitch into each stitch. It sounds like a tongue twister. So 1 half double crochet will simply be placed into each stitch. This point now, we will slowly start to see our work begin to curl, and that is a-okay. That's what we want to have happen. And so we're going to do that all the way around. Okay, so I've finished. I still have 16 stitches. You can see my work is curling. So I'm actually just going to push it out because this is the outside of our work. So you can see those ridges are taking effect. And of course, we're going to slip stitch to join our round. And again, I'm going to take my hook out and I'm going to insert it from behind into the very first stitch I created. Just like that. And then I'm going to take that loop and I'm going to place it back on the hook so I can feed it in from the front to the back. Just like that. There we go. See? So now you're seeing that your seam is being hidden. So round number 3 is now what we're going to repeat for several rounds, okay? So I'm going to chain 1 again, and I'm going to begin the same way. A half double crochet right back into that first stitch into the back loops only. So I'm going to repeat round number 3 until I get up to round number 7. So I have just finished round number 3. I'm on round number 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you're going to keep repeating that until you get to round 7. So that's round 1 and 2. We've completed round 3. And we're just beginning round number 4. So then we continue for 5, 6, and 7. And that's going to give us the height or the length of our little hand for our mitten. Once we get up to round number 7, then we are going to talk about creating the little cuff. Okay, so I have finished 7 rounds. So my work looks something like this. Cute, tiny little mitt. And now I'm ready to start tapering it in to create my cuff. So similar to the one I've got here. So see how it just starts to taper in a little bit? So we will be moving to our smaller hook in just a minute, but first we're going to change the stitch we're doing. We're going to change to a single crochet stitch. I've got my tail sticking up there. I'll have to weave that in. So we've just slip stitched here. Oops. So you're going to chain 1 as usual. And what we're going to do is we are going to work a round of single crochets, and we're still going to go into the back loops only for this round. So what we're going to do is we're not going to yarn over. We're just going to go immediately into the back loop and single crochet. And you're going to do 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around. Okay, so I've just slip stitched to join my round. And so I've gone around and done a single crochet into each stitch all the way around. And you can already see it's just slowly starting to taper in. This is where we're going to switch out our hook. And so we're going to put down the 5.5 and we're going to bring in our 4mm hook. And this is what's going to really help to taper our work right in. So we're going to insert our hook here into our loop. We're going to chain 1 as usual. And we're going to continue with the single crochet stitches, but we're no longer going to work into the back loops only. We're going to go directly into the full stitch, just like that. Okay, so 1 single crochet into each full stitch all the way around. So this is round number 9. And you will continue doing this until you finish round number 9. you're going to go into round number 10, 11, and 12. And 12 will be our last round here of our baby mitt. Okay, so I've completed round number 12 and my mitt is complete. So you can see where it's nicely tapered in from the top. And of course, whenever you make two of anything, it never fails. It never is exactly the same. So you might not notice it at first, but to me, my first one here looks slightly wider than my second one, and it never fails. Whether I do mittens or booties or anything that's twos, that's just how it goes, but it's close enough and I'm pretty happy with it. So what we need to do now is I've just slip stitched to join, and we're going to chain up a long chain. So we want this to be able to feed through the baby's coat and sit comfortably around the neck. So what we want to do is I want to make each chain. Now this one is not the length that I would make it because I actually had a ball of yarn that was a certain length and I ran out of it. So that's why I only chained this much. But what I would do is each length, I would do about 14 to 16 inches in total. So yes, it's going to be more than enough. But what you don't want is you don't want the baby to have it like pulling around their neck. You want it to sit nice and loose. So I'm just going to do up my chain here. And so I'm just going to start by chaining. And I'm just going to keep chaining until I get about 16 inches. Okay. Okay, so I've got my 16 inches, which is about 40 to 41 centimeters. So I'm just going to snip my yarn here, whoops, just like that. And now I'm just going to fasten off here, pull that through, tie it nice and tight. Okay, so, and just if you're curious, I ended up chaining 72 chains with the 4mm hook to give me that length. So if you are just working on your first one with me, you're going to do this exact same thing a second time. So you want to create the second mitten. Once you have both mittens done, then you want to fasten them together. So you just want to make sure, so for example, my strings are on the bottom side. So I would want the baby wearing this with the strings towards the wrist. I mean, generally speaking, that's kind of makes the most sense, but of course, you do you. So I just want to make sure both of these have the string facing the same direction so that when I tie it, it makes sense. So you can see this one's a bit longer because I ran out of yarn there. So they're facing the same way. So you can knot them together or you can tie them kind of like you're going to tie a bow, but I'm going to tie them together here. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to pull that through and I want to try and get it as close as I can. There we go. As close as I can to those two top of the stitches there. And that is the top of your tie. So now what I'm going to do is just going to tie a couple of knots there because of course I always like to double and triple knot my work just to make sure that it is secure. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty secure there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to snip off the excess, just like that. And your mittens are complete. So now what you can do is you can feed this through their coat and it should go up nicely around their neck. It should be loose. It should not be tense. Like I think that's definitely more than enough. So that's it. That's all. These are your baby mittens. My size again was for basically 3 to 6 months old. So I did it this way so that my niece had a little bit of time to grow into them. There you have it. Now, if you have any questions about anything in this tutorial, please make sure to leave them for me in the comment box down below. And I know many of you like to email me directly, so feel free to email me at info@crochetcrafty.com. And make sure to tag me on the socials, by the way. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And let me see what colors you've decided to do your baby mitts in. I just love seeing all the different colorways that you guys choose for your projects. Now, don't forget, come and visit me on the Crochet Crafty website. You guys have heard me say this before. And there's lots of goodies on there. There's great bonus tools like sizing charts and tons of free written patterns, by the way. So come and check out all of the patterns on the Crochet Crafty website. Now, if you're new here and you enjoyed this tutorial, I invite you to press that red subscribe button and come hang out with me every week. I upload a brand new tutorial every Wednesday morning. So for now, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. Thank you, as always, for supporting the channel by sharing, liking, and donating through the thanks button. It is so appreciated, and it helps me continue to make more fun project tutorials for you all. So in the meantime, guys, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in next week's session. Bye-bye.